Everyone loves fantasy sleepers. These are the guys that have just been drafted way too low. Tonight, we're going through our top 20 NBA fantasy sleepers for this season. Let's go into some leagues. G'day guys, I'm D-Mac from NBA Fantasy Bible, and along with me, Matty G, and together we're representing Believe in Fantasy Basketball. How are you, Matty G?
Man, I'm good. Just a Sunday night, chilling, talking fantasy with you, as we tend to do most Sunday nights. It's a wonderful way to end or start the week if it's the productive work week. I don't know if you believe in the biblical calendar or whatever the calendar is, but it's Sunday. It's not a day of rest for us, mate.
Thinking of sleep, but I'm almost ready for sleepy time. We're going through our sleepers, top 20 sleepers for this season. We've been talking about it a lot in our ADP battles, a lot of our rankings, but we're about to drop our top 20. And just to reiterate with you guys, sleepers don't necessarily mean guys that we've never heard of. They're coming from the clouds. These are guys that we think can have some value on draft day. And we know that when you get that draft value, that goes a long way towards dominating your draft and winning your league.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really against the term. I'm almost against the term sleepers just because we use it. It's like a buzz term, like sleepers, booms, bust. And yet when we do the titles, we're like, should probably use sleepers here. But a lot of these, like, it's just sleepers isn't guys who are just no one's got. And then you find them on them magically. You could just search them into your waiver wire toolbar and pick them up. Like, again, this is the thing about sleepers. That is the ultimate sleeper. Like, let's call that the fantasy unicorn. Like the dude you just pick up who's like, wait a second, they're there? And then all of a sudden it goes from like 2% owned in all, platforms to like 87% owned within 48 hours. That's a true sleeper. Sleepers are guys who people are just forgetting about. They've gone back in their draft. Their ADP currently is not where we probably feel as analysts that they should end up at the end of the day. Is that right? D-Mac, around that's a real sleeper.
You're exactly right. That's a real sleeper. It's more like a micro nap. People are just napping because for whatever reason, if it's an injury, they're just old. And we'll get through it. And we'll go through just our top 20. And there's going to be some well-known guys and some guys that probably you haven't heard too much about. But let's get straight into it, starting with one of the most well-known guys in the world in the NBA, Steph Curry. Looking at that ADP, it's the Yahoo one that really stands out at 19.2 at this stage, where we think he can be close to, if not well within that first round of value at the end of the season.
Yeah, 100%. Look, it's because he's old. I just have no other thing for it that we all want the new and shiny toys. And you've got the advice there that Steph was like the 9th best player last year, and he was. And we even thought that he had a recessional year in some ways. People were like, like Steph's gone back, he's gone backwards. Yet the thing was, that was a really spasmodic start to the season for the Golden State Warriors, wasn't it, man?
Yeah, it was, absolutely. And I think they're to win it this season. They're getting a lot older, obviously Draymond himself. But we're going to talk about another guy later on in Podziemski as well. So there's some youth there to try to help these older guys as well. But I just think Steph Curry is going to have monster usage like he tends to have most seasons. But when we know that a lot of the first rounders or close to first rounders from last season are going to be injured for the entire season, he bumps up for me. But for some reason, his ADP is going down. For that reason, he's a sleeper in my eyes, particularly with Yahoo.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, it was not just about his 9th overall. In fact, I like to think about it's like Jesus. It's like there's, BC before Christ and then AD after death. It's like BB before Butler and then AB after Butler. And the last 3 months of the season, Steph Curry actually finishes the 6th best player, engaged, Golden State, a competitive basketball team. And we can't sleep on that because you take out the other two players that were ahead of Steph in the last 3 months of last season. Number 4 last year was Tyrese Halliburton. Number 5 last year in the last 3 months of the season was Damian Lillard. And those guys just do not exist. And then your top 3 last year for the last 3 months of the NBA season was number 1, Nikola Jokic. Number 2, SGA. 3, and he didn't even play more than 13 games in the last 3 months down the stretch, was Victor Wembanyama. Number 4 was Steph Curry. So we're getting the 4th best player potentially in fantasy with everyone else still active. With those 2 guys out of the mix, he bumps up automatically. and you're getting him at 12, 13, 14, like down the track. For me, that's just current. It's just value. Like he's better than 15 by 10 spots, and we're quibbling over Anthony Edwards. I mean, what are we doing there?
Yeah, and he played 68 games last season as well. So for Steph, that's excellent. And I can't see anything unless it's the ankles and he has some recurring ankle injuries, but I just can't see that being terrible this season. So I think he's a solid end of first round guy, but at that ADP of 19.2, that's some juicy value right there.
100%. And you can just check out the build that I did with him. I really recommend like a punt blocks build. You can check that out on Believe in Fantasy. Right now, it's from our latest expert mock draft. There's the thumbnail right there. Or just look for Steph Curry. If you're on audio, just go and look at the last things that we've been dropping and just look at that one. But a punt blocks build, this guy is absolutely insane. Like it's the punt you can make off him, especially if you're getting him at the end of your first round, early second round.
Yes, absolutely. Now, another old guy that we're going to talk about, KD, Kevin Durant, now in Houston. The ADP has just dropped into... That's the start of the third round in Yahoo, which is quite crazy when you think about that.
Yeah, there seems, and look, this is, I think KD, I hope he hears this somewhere and he just put it in the comments or something. It's like, shout out, Easy Money Sniper. Hey, thanks, Matty, for getting my back. What are we doing? Like, honestly, what are we doing here? Even NBA 2K dropped him down a point. Like, everyone just seems to be like, yeah, he's going to be worse. I don't know. This guy is fantastic. He's a first-round player. He was an insanely good player in points leagues, an insanely good player in category leagues. Now, yeah, he does do less, but if you go back to the seasons where he did play over in the Golden State Warriors, he was still absolutely elite. Like the guy was still just putting up huge numbers across the board. So for me, it's just like we're looking at one of the best players in the NBA and discounting them. And I just don't get it. In his last season with the Warriors, and yes, I know it was like the 18-19 season, whatever. 18-19, he was the 8th best player in a system with Steph Curry, a more prime Klay Thompson. This guy knows how to integrate. I think his efficiencies are going to be outstanding. And I see this as absolutely easy money banking for you for this year as a potential first round, early second round player at the very worst. In the third round, delicious.
Absolutely delicious. Is the reason why he's slipping, is it just because of his age? Or is it just the new scenery? Is it purely age? Because he played 65 games last season.
Yeah, Maelstrom. It's a new team. It's how can him and Thompson both be top 25 players? Oh, I'm doing my head in the math. It can't be like Scooby. Like someone's like confused. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. So I think it's age. I think it's new team. And I think it's people think he is an injured guy. I think there just seems to be the stigma that he misses games. And like, you're right. Last year he did have 65 games, but 64, I think it might've been 65 or 64. I can't remember now actually off it, but
yeah, I got 65. Yeah.
65. Yeah. So even if he plays 65 this year, it makes him NBA player eligible for all of the awards. And then I think people think back then to his season before, like how good was he the season before? Wasn't he injured? Well, he played a lot of games that year, 75 games, but he came back from an injury the year before. And I think the recency bias with Kevin Durant sometimes is that he gets this thing that he's injured a bit, but he's not. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like, oh, he's injured and old, but he's
the old
not.
bit. And I have empathy for him also, myself being old. We're in our 40s as well. So we get it. He's not quite there, but we get it. But I think he's a solid pick, and that's why he's on our
100%.
sleepers list. He's not quite at MVP level, but what is at MVP level is Believe in Fantasy. So if you'd like to support the Believe in Fantasy basketball channel, consider becoming an MVP community member. So what do you get with that, Pete?
Luke, you get to write the segues for this show like D-Mac just used then, which actually seamlessly blends in the minor. I did. That was the best one. I actually had to stop. I was about to take a drink, but if I drunk just then, I would have probably spat it out all over my camera. And that would have just been recycled somewhere on a loop in hell for all of eternity. And you get to push that button in hell for all of eternity for me if you join up the MVP membership program. You just get to sit there torturing me with me going and doing whatever. But you also get the best insider advice in fantasy basketball in the community. It is an absolutely pumping off Discord and fantasy chat. You get access to the experts 24/7. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all the things for the MVP membership down below.
Yep, make sure you visit believeitinfantasy.com. Now, getting to our third guy, it is Donovan Mitchell, if I can get him there. Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland Cavaliers. He's going to have a fair bit to do to start the season. Darius Garland, who I will talk about a little bit later on, he came off a pretty poor season for his standards last season, where he's ranked 48th in 9-cat, 53rd in -1. Pretty good in points, 37th. But this season, his ADP, for me, particularly with Yahoo ADP at 23.8, presents some value there.
Yeah, look, I know that you're really big on Don for this season. I like Donovan Mitchell. I'd probably argue if I was doing like an all-time, not an all-time list, but a current like top tiers list, like make your all NBA first team, all NBA second team, Donovan Mitchell would just get thrown around there because I just like the guy. I think he plays hard. I like what he does overall across the board. For me, he tends to be either overdrafted or underdrafted. And there's like a paradox about Donovan Mitchell. I think this guy is going to have an absolutely blistering start to the season. I think once he accepted he wasn't going to the New York Knicks, like there was the big rumor when he re-signed his contract last year, he just settled himself down and he had a really decent season. Now, last year, he obviously wasn't as good as he was the season before, and there was a fall off for him. So for me, that's where there's that buyer beware for people who are in the fantasy. He finished the season last year as the 35th best player. But this is I see it very similar to Jalen Brunson, if that makes sense. I see him and Brunson in the same breath. Both small guys, both really elite point guards, both like really strong, getting to the rim and high free throw percentages. People comp like Brunson to other guards. I see my comp to him really is Donovan Mitchell, would you say?
Yeah, I would say that. I am a big fan of Don. His Don is good, but again, I go back to the health as well, and he's been relatively healthy. I go back to games played, 71. I will correct myself earlier with KD. It was actually 60. I think it was 62 actually played, but 62. But Donovan Mitchell, 71. Darius Garland out to start the season. We saw what he did 2 seasons ago, where he was that end of first round type of guy, and I don't think he'll get back there for the entire season. But he's going to have some explosive nuclear games to start that season. And that's enough for me to grab him at that back end of the second round, according to ADP data for Yahoo.
Now, 100%. And when you're looking talking about guys who are going around the same area as him, Jalen Brunson, who finished the season last year as the 47th best player, Donovan Mitchell was the 35th best player. So that's equally one round of value better with no Darius Garland. And this guy wanting to win in Cleveland and prove out, he is going to have a blistering start to the season. And for me, because he's a name, because he could be a first round value guy to start the season, like we could see him have a top 5 fantasy start to the season quite possibly if his defense is there and the steals are up. If that is the case, you could trade him very easily for a very tasty morsel before the inevitable return of Darius Garland and get yourself a haul. So don't discount that fact as well if you draft Donovan Mitchell come your fantasy draft.
Absolutely. Next guy, another one of our favorites, Jalen Johnson. Can it be possible for a guy to be having a breakout season 3 years in a row? But looking at that ADP value, my God, there's some juicy value in my opinion there.
Oh, there is. If you're on ESPN, if you were a smart category league player and you are on ESPN and you know that you're drafting with a bunch of players who like the points format, if that happens to be you and that's your magic scenery and magic situation, his current ADP on ESPN is 50. That's because it's points focused. Like 50 is just sounds dumb at a point. It's like almost even double fan trace.
Look at his points ranking from last season where he's 16th. And we know because he occasionally struggles at the free throw line. 16th in points leagues. The ADP may be reflective of the fact that people are just out on him because he's always injured. Well, he's not always injured. He just ended up last season injured. The previous season, he also sustained an injury. 3 years in a row, I wouldn't count on it. Is it also the Porzingis factor there as well?
And if so, Porzingis is no picture of health, really, is it? So we're talking about a guy. We're talking about 2 guys here on the same team who could be much maligned by injury. And if Kristaps isn't playing or resting, we can see bumps for Jalen Johnson right across the board. I think he's going to have the season we've wanted him to have. And if there is buyer beware, and you can slip into value. This is a guy, as you said, with the free throw percentages. Look, maybe they come up. Let's just say that they don't. If you compare him in the second round with Giannis, great. But if he's still there on your board in the third round, D-Mac, and you're in ESPN leagues and you don't take him, you almost deserve to lose your season if you're punting free throw percentage and you drafted Giannis in the first round and he's there. If he's there for you at like 32, like what would it be, 24? It'd be about pick 30, I guess you could say. Giannis about 5 or 6, like 29, 30. If you don't take Jalen Johnson and that's your build, you should lose. Like, I'm sorry to say bad. I don't want to say bad things, but you should lose your season because the perfect guy is just there.
There's no reason for us to think he's going to have a third consecutive season of injuries. Only 36 games played last season. So it's put some people off, but then that presents that value with the ADP. So I really like Jalen Johnson. I think he can be close to first round, probably more like settles into that middle of the second round pack. There's a few guys there, but I love Jalen Johnson's all-round fantasy game there.
100%. And actually, he projects if you're punting free throw percentage, he projects as a top 20 player instantly in my projections. So like I'm just filtering through. He projects out at 15th in a punt free throw build. 15, and you're getting him at 30? Yeah, good.
Unbelievable. Another guy that's unbelievable. Last season was unbelievable. Jamal Murray, the Blue Arrow, 17th and 9cat last season. So good. So good. Underrated going into last season because he had a really poor World Cup for Canada. This season, he's underrated once again. You look at across all three platforms, Yahoo, ESPN, and even Fantrax underrated him. 39.4 on Fantrax. I think he can be a second rounder, perhaps even a third rounder, but second rounder in my eyes.
Yeah, look, Jamal Murray he's really good at basketball. Simply put, like the bloke is really good at basketball. And we kind of forget that. I know people like in the point guard shortage as well that we have this year. For me, he automatically got a bump up. We are sleeping on him when we're seeing him at 45. He has been a top 30 player. I think he'll be a top 30 player again this fantasy season. There's not much to say that currently. I don't know if people think that he's losing out to Bruce Brown coming back or Cam Johnson, for the love of goodness, who aren't the guys, or the Denver Nuggets not being good. I don't know. Do we not think the Denver Nuggets are a good basketball team and that they're headed by Jokic as the best player almost in fantasy or in basketball? Do you think that kind of just puts a bit of a like, oh yeah, but don't worry about Jamal to the side? Like, here's the Pippen to Jokic's Jordan in this situation. So we kind of just slide him back down further than he should be.
Yeah, I think so. It will be interesting what you guys think as well. If you've got any thoughts on Jamal Murray, let us know in the comments. But yeah, for me, absolute sleeper on all three platforms there. A guy that I know, easily. I know that you are big on this guy, Myles Turner, new scene in Milwaukee, alongside of Giannis. I love him. I tweeted about him yesterday. I just actually think he's going to... There's some pretty poor perimeter defense for the Bucks. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to really...
There's a lot of... perimeter. Did you say perimeter defense and Milwaukee Bucks in the same sentence?
It's not synonymous. You've got Taurean Prince. You've got...
Yeah, I mean, look, Taurean Prince can defend. I just keep on remembering Kyle Kuzma plays there, and he's going to have to play basketball there this year. And probably... I'm almost in the realm of like, are we sleeping on Kyle Kuzma because we don't like him so much at a point? I'm like, can Kyle Kuzma be that bad? Like, can he rapidly go downhill that poorly? And I'm like, yeah, he probably is. He's probably going to fall outside the top 150 or 200. Kyle Kuzma is probably the guy at this point in time who I think is also like the most slept on guy because we've seen him be decent. We just haven't seen him be decent in Milwaukee. And I don't know what else to expect from these guys next year. For me, it's got to be Myles Turner. He's another one like Jamal Murray. I see him as a top 30 player. He can bring you a host of things across the board, including those absolutely delightful block shots because people have to go to the rim. And if he can, now he has been inconsistent with his blocks, and we can never really weigh, and this is the one thing that does D-Mac, we can never, defensive quote unquote specialist. And I'm even like this with Dyson Daniels, who is a real, I guess, almost a true defensive specialist. It's also the most spasmodic statistics we have in basketball. Generally speaking, you can, if you're like Mitchell Robinson and you're putting the ball close to the basket all the time, or you're like Jakob Poeltl and you're finishing near the rim, these high Isaiah Hartenstein, if you're doing these guys and your field goal, you know, your big man, your Jarrett Allens of the world, your dunker spot dudes, your field goal percentage is always going to be high. If you're a really good free throw shooter, you're probably a really good free throw shooter. If you shoot a lot of threes and you make a lot of threes, you're probably going to make a lot of threes. But you don't always get blocks and steals. You can put yourself in the position to best do that, but then you can foul or there's a bad call. And if you get 2 bad calls a game on shots that you blocked and they're called fouls, the 2 shots that you blocked that game aren't blocks anymore. You get 0 blocks for the game. And so this is where these really volatile categories can come into play. But even without that, what Myles Turner is going to have to do, if you can give him 2 blocks a year, 1.9 to 2.2 on average this year, he will surpass this, be a top 30 player. The one thing that regressed last year was the 3-point shooting. If that could improve a little bit again this year and space the floor for Giannis, because it's going to have to, you are bang on the money with this one, man. I think he's a top 30 player in that case.
I think so easily. And 2.0 blocks per game last season is probably slightly down on his career average. I think that can come up, even if it's by 0.2, 0.3. Yeah. That'll boost up that 9-cat value very, very quickly. And again, he doesn't hurt you at the free throw line. It's not great, but it's not on high volume. It's less than 80%, but on lowish volume as well. So good for a big man. So I think Myles Turner, fantastic pick. Yep. Yahoo 55.6, ESPN 59. Crazy high. And I get it with ESPN. He's not well performed in points leagues as he is in comparison in 9-cat. But Yahoo,
shout out to our brothers and sisters. Shout out to brothers and sisters of Fantrax getting on it, because you can see there that 39 ADP. That's about right.
That's about right. Yeah,
that's about right. Because let's say I say a top 30 player. I'm talking that as absolute peak best finish top 30 player. So to see him in the next round after that, which again would be in the 4th round. So to see him either going late in the 3rd round, early 4th round, that's bang on the money there. You know, there's people taking him somewhat in the 50s. There's an average there. Shout out to Fantrax players who are getting in on Myles Turner, but the value on ESPN is fantastic.
Yep, a lot of hoop heads play Fantrax, so I guess that's a huge value there. And I've just realized I spelled Fantrax wrong on all of these slides. So sorry to Fantrax, but you get what we mean. But Jakob Poeltl is another big guy that we really, really love. That Yahoo ESPN ADP data, again, very juicy.
It's so dumb. When I see this, when I'm seeing, and this is the thing, because we've been into some draft lobbies, so we do way too many mock drafts. And I'm just going to say this. Thank you very much to everyone who is sleeping on Jakob Poeltl, because you and I have been on so many of these podcasts now, doing it. Shout out to our team, Mock One. Again, just another case where we're like, do we take Poeltl? I think I should take Poeltl. Are you going to take Poeltl? I'm going to take Poeltl. You should all take Jakob Poeltl. If he is around in your draft, even outside this is a guy who I believe could be a top 50 player on the year. Yes, but he plays for Toronto, and aren't they shutting it down? They've kind of made it clear this year that they're going to give it a bit of a run in the East. They've kind of telegraphed the fact that with healthy Brandon Ingram and their lineup, how they envision it, this will be the year that they actually play basketball without the fear of the tank.
Yep. So let's not to mention healthy Emmanuel quickly as well. So they've got the talent back on the court if they can stay healthy. I think Jakob Poeltl plays more than the 57 games that he played last season. But yeah, he was 43rd in 9-cat per #basketball. Again, shout out to #basketball. -1, 32. Yeah, he kills your free throw percentage. But if you're punting that, my God, man, 32.
Can you imagine imagine taking Poeltl and taking Jalen Johnson right there after an Giannis build? This is you take this guy because people are sleeping on him, and then you're taking this guy like 2 rounds later on top of Giannis, and you were just absolutely eating. You're getting all of the rebounds. You're getting an incredible field goal percentage, minimal turnovers from him and Johnson comparatively compared to what you're obviously going to get, a high turnover rate as well. So to compensate the turnovers with the Giannis build, you want guys and players are similar, but don't turn it over. Poeltl's one of these guys who doesn't get the ball that much. He's probably about no more than 2 a game because they either give it to him to dunk the ball or he gets it or he accidentally spills the ball on the beans out of there. He can get you a steal a game. He's a +600 shooter from the free throw, like from the field, from the floor. This is, it's great value here, D-Mac. You're spot on.
Yeah, 2.5 defensive stocks for him. So steals and blocks per game is elite. Elite in field goal percentage as well. And that can be quite difficult to get later on
Yeah.
in drafts just because of the volume as well. But yeah, great pick later in the draft. I'm going to quickly jump to another one of my guys that I have drafted in so many mocks so
You
far. But I
you
think
have.
the ADP could be reflective of his injury status.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think it's like, when does he come back? When does he not come back? So I think Darius Garland only misses 3 weeks at max. So this is a guy who last year at points in time was better than Donovan Mitchell in fantasy. And we can't expect that as well. Like, that's going to be that's the outlier, that he is better than Donovan Mitchell at fantasy basketball or at real basketball. I think he's good, but I think that he misses 2 or 3 weeks. So he's slid back already in ADP data, as you can see there. This guy finished last year like really well. This is Fantrax is spot on. 51. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So Fantrax is or Fat Racks for this one.
Yeah, Fat Racks as well.
It's just
I just
Fat
can't
Racks,
spell it
baby.
right, mate.
You can't, no matter what slide it is. It's fantastic. Shout out to Fan Racks and Fantrax. All of the racks and tracks and facts. Fat Racks and tracks.
Not a fan of Fat Racks.
Look, there's been some times in my 20s that we're talking about, but this is 52. This is very fair pickings for him. And so this is where the intel shows you. It's your ESPN and your Yahoo players, especially category players on Yahoo. I think because there's a lot more category players in Yahoo, DMAC, that these guys are in for a treat if they can pick him up around 60, put him straight into IR for probably no more than 3 weeks. You stream that spot, drop that guy off at the car park. Welcome back, DG, for another great year in Cleveland, and you're laughing.
Yeah, and statistical scarcity, we've spoken about it in our mock drafts when I have picked up Garland, typically in like the 4th or 5th. I've gone pretty high at times just because I love to build up the elite point guard stats with those assists, good free throw percentage, steals as well. So 71.4, that's massive. I guess those that are a little bit risk averse will avoid him because 3 weeks would be great. I haven't had confirmation of an exact timeline, but I'm thinking 2 to 3 weeks. It would be interesting. I know this is relatively new news as well, but Tyler Hero went down. He's likely to miss a month of the season. Yeah, I know that's salt in the wounds for you. But I'd love to see where his ADP ends up. Is it going to be around the same as what Darius Garland's will be? I guess there's just not enough time to really push that data out. But are we thinking? Okay, here you go.
I'm taking a script. Don't.
Garland or Tyler Hero? Who are you taking?
Hero.
Really? Okay.
100%. 100%. Don't you F with me. I'm not going to say. I was going to say the full word there, but I'm not going to get this. No, 100%. I'm taking Tyler Hero because I'm not going to back down off my stance that I love Tyler Hero this year. Prayers out to Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero getting better sooner rather than later. In fact, I can show you something that I did because people are going to ask me this because I had 2 DMs yesterday going like, your dude's out. I was like, yep, I'm well aware. Thank you so much. This was the picture that he pictured. I took a screenshot of this as my evidence. This is Tyler Hero. If you're watching, this is Tyler Hero from his hospital bed doing the middle finger saying, I'm going to tear the league back down once I get off this weak ass bed. And I am like saying at the same time as that, I know he's going to be like, oh, he's injured. Thank you, injuries, for making Tyler Hero, who was starting to get a little bit more hype, slide down the boards. Because if he is out for a month, I will burden that. I will stream that. I will put him in IR, and I will see him go in the 50s or 51.9 where Darius Garland is and take it. Why? Because he still has to come back for a Miami Heat team that desperately will need him and help them win some games in an Eastern Conference because they are the Miami Heat, and that's what they ultimately do, and they don't like tanking, and it's Spoelstra, and it's Riley, and it's whatever. Now, I like Darius Garland, but give me them both at the same team where he has to be the second pony with Donovan Mitchell, and I'm going to take Hero. But where he's going right now for the limited amount of time you have to probably put up with it, yeah, man, it's a good pick by you there.
What you're saying is Tyler Hero is also a sleeper, which we haven't discussed today. But until then,
I've taken screenshots of his ADPs. And literally yesterday, I was like, if I could get some more value out of Tyler Hero, I'll be really happy.
Well, let's move on to another guard, Payton Pritchard. We've spoken about him endlessly. I think a lot of people have, a lot of analysts have. He's still a sleeper. You look at that ADP, I think people have cottoned onto this, but the ADP still presents value. Yahoo, ESPN, and Fatrax again, still with some value there.
Look, it is. And I think you and I do the next challenge. And I think we're going to do a mock draft really soon where we just jump into a lobby in Yahoo. Because a lot of the drafts that we do are analyst drafts. Like we get in a lot of drafts with our listeners and our followers and subscribers. So shout out to all of those on our network who jump into these with us. To the other networks, they get their people in as well. So these are in like a lot of people who listen to drink the same Kool-Aid, if you will. And we've seen him. And I keep on getting anxious, like, oh, I'm going to get him in like the 60s in these drafts or early in the 70s. And then he's out of my line taken. Like I was in with, what was it? Was it Matt Smith the other night? Shout out to Matty. Great pick by you,
drafting.
Matt.
Great pick.
Great drafting by you, Matt. Great picking. Sorry, check out that episode the other night because we just had to do that for Matty. Matt pretty much made my draft for me because he just did my draft that I was taking of everyone from my queue. I didn't have to think about it, but Matt Smith was taking them. And Pritchard was one of them. And he took him early. Why? Because if you need to get your guy, you get them around or so early. So if this can be a top 50 player, and we're seeing him still go in the 80s, so you should be taking him in the 60s or 70s, or definitely in the 70s. You can't expect them to be going in the 80s every time. This is the thing that concerns me. When people start overdrafting him in the 50s and early 60s, it eats away, I think, some of the value. I think he could be a top 50 player, but it depends on what Kool-Aid you're drinking, man. And right now, the right Kool-Aid seems to be with the Yahoo and the Fantrax people and ESPN. The fact that he's at 100 is crazy.
Yeah. And again, that's reflective of points. He's not as effective in a points league as he is in a 9-cat, but yep, I think he can be a top 50 guy as well. Well, let's move on to another guard that probably doesn't get as much love.
Oh,
I'll go to.
I was going to go this one.
FEV.
Go to FEV then. No, I was going to say his teammate as well. I think we've got a couple of guys we can say just really nicely into. It's Sam Hauser. This bloke is another guy because of him, I think, is the impact of everyone's on Payton Pritchard. I think there's just the outlier here that Sam Hauser is the guy that we're sleeping on. So I think in this regard that we've got guys like Sam, of the big house, of the can we call him the shit house, the brick house. I think Sam Hauser is he's safe as houses. Get it?
Oh yeah.
There you go. No, look, I love what I'm seeing from this because he is going undrafted in Fantrax. He is going undrafted in ESPN, and he's going undrafted in some Yahoo leagues. At those ADPs at 132, was it 132 is the best? His 132 is the best.
Yeah, I think he can be a top 100 guy. And you know that I think Jaylen Brown and Derek White probably going to have quite a few rest days throughout the season as well. So Sam Hauser is just going to be an elite source of threes and pretty decent in points as well. And he's not going to kill you in efficiency. And
he chases down rebounds too. The bloke gets out there and plays. If he's playing like 26 to 30 minutes a night, anywhere in that window, I actually believe that he's a must draft player. I'm going to say out this. If he, I'm like, okay, I would say not must draft, must roster player, because we can't draft him based on the assumption of minutes he has not yet played in a regular season, because there could be the preseason, shenanigans where he's like out there playing like 36 minutes a night and putting it all up, and we get hyped. Oh yeah, he's going to play 36, bro. No, he's not. But if he's playing 26 to 30 minutes a night, I think we see him as a top 120 player. And I think there may be a time where you drop him off at the car park during the course of the season, the first 50 games, and then someone else picks him up, hopefully you, off the waiver wire, and then all of a sudden Jaylen Brown is out 10 games later for the rest of the season while he's on your roster, and you're like, wait, what? Sam Hauser's starting in Boston for the foreseeable future. What?
And Matty, you've given us a preview into some of these later round sleepers, probably one of these traditional proper sleepers, not just a value pick, but real late round flyer type of guy. So I like it.
Go back to your guy. Go back to Fred
VanVleet. Again, I think there's been a little bit more talked about him, but just not as hyped as Payton Pritchard. Take us through why you think he's a sleeper.
Look, this isn't mine. And I want to say this, that someone put me on game. Shout out to my guy, Dan Besbris over at Old Man Sports Network. Dan, for the show that we did that was guy analyst picks, submitted this to me for my show on that network. And there was guys like Robin gave Mike Manis Buzelis, like he's my guy for the year. You know, you gave me everyone gave me these my guys, and his was like, my guy is Fred VanVleet. And I was like, really, Dan? Really? Because I was a truther last year. I even had videos where it was like, yeah, man, I think he's being slept on a little bit. And he was being slept on. But he wasn't great last year. And I think that the truth is that he wasn't great at times last year. His field goal percentage was abysmal. It stunk last year.
37.8 is probably a career worst. And we know that when you get Fred VanVleet, that's punt field goal percent sort of territory, but that's just next level, 37.8% on 12.7 shots. So it's not low volume.
Yeah, and look, it's just really bad. And if this guy can be plus 400, fair. But for me, where he's at right now, what he's going to have to do, and he's going to have to pass the ball to Kevin Durant. And that's a pretty easy job. And it's weird to say that I think he could possibly be, once again, a top 50 player, possibly. But the fact that I can see him on ESPN going in the 90s and Yahoo at the 80s is that somewhere, if the truth is somewhere between the best outcome is his top 50 and let's say 46, 47, 48, whatever, 45, let's say 45. And at worst, he finishes where he finished last year. That's around the ESPN ranking. There's somewhere a happy window in between where we can get him in the 70s and be really making it back. And this is where shout out to the fan racks, not to be confused with the fat racks people, but definitely should be confused with fan tracks drafters. Getting him at 61 is good. But at 88 on Yahoo especially, I like the Yahoo value there for him, especially in the 70s. I like that for Fred VanVleet this year, and I think we can juice out a round and a half or 2 rounds of value off him.
Yep, I agree. Tremendous value there. There's talk of him taking a bit of a back seat with Amen Thompson coming through and giving the ball to KD. That could actually help him and get him some better shots as well. But really, 100%. Really like that one. Now, another one of yours. Tobias Harris. Boring Tobias Harris. Take us through this, mate.
I think this guy is my fantasy boyfriend. And it's just the worst pick in the world that I can say. I think this guy for him is absolutely like ridiculous. When I'm talking Tobias Harris, I am talking safe as houses Harris here. Like this is a guy who people was like,
I remember safe as Hauser.
No, that was just a pun on safe as houses. It's not to be the same. Tobias Harris is a top 80 fantasy player. He has shown us time and again what he does. He does things on pretty decent percentages. He does things on pretty good rebounding. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy per game over the last 3 seasons been 59th, 48th, and 80th last year. So he's a top 80th player. Without Malik Beasley there, yes, but Jaden Ivey's coming back. But Jaden, we've got to see how that works out with Jaden Ivey. We hope for good things for Jaden Ivey. And we don't know what's going to happen with Malik Beasley yet. Oh, but Duncan Robinson's in. It's Duncan Robinson. Now I'm curious to see if he can fill that void. But it's just still the fact that it's Tobias Harris doing these things that are top 80 value. And here he is in 105 is the best because his points player is really good. But to see him falling, especially in Yahoo, to 114, that's almost 3 rounds of value you can get back for him if you were a Yahoo drafter. And that's value, mate. I will take every single day of the week because you can't get guys who get you that many rebounds and points that late. You just can't.
Yeah, we know Tobias Harris is just an efficient shooter, but we don't often remember that he got us 1.0 steals and 0.8 blocks as well. So that's not nothing coming from a guy like Tobias Harris, where we just assume he gives us nothing in the defensive categories. He gives us stuff and he gives us efficiency and he's going to be solid and he never seems to be injured either. So tick, tick, and tick. Nice sleeper. Another one that you're hot on, Zach Edey. I love this guy. He's starting the season injured, but there is some value to be had if you're comfortable. And again, you know your league settings and stash him in IR. But where would you pick him? ADP Yahoo 111.5, ESPN 127.3. That's egregious, and Fantrax 118.
I don't know where I'd draft him at this point in time. I don't. I don't know where I would draft Zach Edey because I definitely see again the top 50 playerish in him when he's back. And it's just the fact that this guy can put up plus 600. He's plus 600 from the floor, plus 700 from the free throw line. Doesn't get fouled. That 1 point something blocks, 1.5 to 2 blocks a game.
Yeah, 1.3 blocks last season. Yep. So he can get us 1.7, 1.8, 2.0 perhaps next season.
Look, I'm telling you now, this guy without Desmond Bane, which is more of also the thing with Desmond Bane is a really good perimeter defender. So I know Scottie Pippen Jr. is there and he'll probably absorb some of that, but he's the backup, really point guard primarily to Ja Morant. Look, it's hard for me. I mean, I know that KCP is there now in that trade, but I don't think KCP is the perimeter defender that he once was. So for me, there's going to be a lot of backing here for, again, Jaren Jackson Jr. is in town, but he is also their power forward when Zach Edey's on the floor. So I see their last line of protection being Edey, and I could possibly see him potentially coming down the line as like defensive player of the year type stuff for Zach Edey because of the amount of stocks that he can get you. Again, he's always going to have to, I guess, compete against Victor Wembanyama for this. But where his ADP right now for a guy who could be top 50, I think it's really like just giving us value. Like because of his ankle surgery, the last 3 months of the season, this guy was a top 70 player. You know, in the last 3 months, per 36 numbers, he was a top 55 player, top 60 player. You know what I mean? Like this guy was like right up there. So I just see there being a return for him come draft day, especially if we're drafting him late. I am really comfortable in the 80s, 90s. If he is there in the 80s, 90s, I'm really comfortable. And I don't think I'm going to have my hand forced, but centers who can do what he does are definitely gone by then. So picking him up at that value, that's the key.
Yeah, and you mentioned Desmond Bane no longer there. So usage is increased for him. So I think he can do more on the offensive end as well. Yes, I agree. More to do at the rim, shot blocking, but I think he's got some more points as well in him. So great pick there. So 80s and 90s would be comfortable. So let's hope that he's not sidelined for too much longer. Another big man that we love, Dereck Lively III, starting center, we assume, alongside of AD at the Mavericks.
Yeah, look, he had foot surgery as well in the offseason. Like there's been a thing with him being injured. I see him coming back. And I just think we see Dereck Lively really take the position of starting or incumbent center with these guys. We know that Anthony Davis doesn't like to play center. We know that Kyrie Irving is out. AD is much injured, but I hope he plays like 65 games because I just want to see what this Dallas Mavericks new generational side looks like beside it. But for me, it's definitely this guy is the starter. It's Daniel Gafford is the backup. We've seen what he can do. Absolutely in blistering field goal percentage. Like this guy again is a perfect pairing for like those Giannis punt, free throw percentage builds. He is plus 700 from the floor. Him and Gafford are horses like that. Potential double-double a night. Let's say he gets 10 points or 8 points and 11 rebounds or 9 and 9. He's going way too far back down the line. Like just seeing him at this here, seeing him going at 122 for a guy who could be top 80, top like 90, that's 3 rounds of value. That's value that we like, especially when we see him going that late.
And he performed really well last season on 23 minutes per game. So he's still a young guy, and I think there is an upward trajectory with him. I think he will play more than Daniel Gafford. It'll be interesting to see how many, I'll say small ball lineups, but AD at the 5 lineups without Lively they'll play. But I really like him, and I like him in that top 100.
Yeah, like him at 25 minutes a night. Liked him here. Like this guy, Brandin Podziemski. Brandon with an I. The Brandy. Look, this guy is slept on continually in fantasy basketball, especially because the Kuminga situation. I think it's the big question here is what happens with Jonathan Kuminga? What assets, if he is then signed and traded, come back? I think it's the big question mark for him. But currently at his ADP value and what we're giving him credit for is this guy for me is a fringe top 100 player. And by fringe top 100, I say he could quite like in science, there's that Goldilocks zone. You know where they talk about like the distance from the sun, and that's why Earth is okay. Like we don't die because we're in the Goldilocks zone. Pods is in the Goldilocks zone of fantasy basketball, where he's somewhere between like maybe 90 and somewhere between 110. Like he can coexist in this world where he's a must-draft player. Like he's not going to get you burnt. He's not going to make you too cold, but he's just going to be there like, oh yeah, I've got Podziemski, I've got Pods.
Just right. Like
just right.
Yeah, just
like
right.
It's the Goldilocks zone. It's like, oh yeah, I can't let him go. And then you're looking at your roster every week to be like, oh, who am I gonna stream? Oh, I can't drop Pods. He's just right.
So where would you target him then? So look at that ADP, Yahoo 121, ESPN pretty much 139, and Fantrax at 116. Where are you taking him? Is this like a last round or a second last round type of?
Oh my gosh, if you're drafting and Pods is in your last round, I'm taking him every day of the week in my last round. I'm 100% because my last round guy always should be drafted under the rule that he will be the first person I drop from my team.
Correct.
I don't know about you, man, but if I'm drafting, the last guy is the guy who I am emotionally unattached to. Here's my one night stand after too many whiskey and apple juices at the dive bar down in the middle of the Sydney city back when I was younger. Here's the mistake that I make right after that I'm not him make mistake. But
shout out to previous partners of Matty G if you're watching.
Yeah, 100%. There's going to be a couple of girls who this might be aggregated. No, but look, let's digress from that one. But no, this is the thing. Like you have to drop that player from your roster. Like you should never draft with the intent of those last two people that you have to be permanent tenures unless they eclipse their ADP and then that comes down. Your worst two are the guys that are off. If you're taking Pods with your last pick, it's a really good last pick. Second last round, 100%. I think it's a good pick as well, especially if you're in a roster like we do the math. DMAC, don't we? We did this. Like most teams, 12 players, 12 teams, 144. Walk back to 120. I'm good with him from 120 on. And you can see here that people are doing about 120 on you. You're like, oh, maybe I should take Pods. Same with Fantrax. Maybe I should take Pods. Category players and ESPN are like, maybe I won't draft Pods. So in ESPN, I think it's definitely the one shot that you get to get the absolute most use from this. If you're a category player on ESPN, Pods is a player you want to definitely be drafting there.
He was the 15th player that we've looked at. We've got 5 to go. Similar type of guy, Donte DiVincenzo. You've been hot on him all preseason.
Same. Yeah, same. I kept on seeing him fall to me, and I think that I'm getting a little bit narky at other analysts for like, stop drinking my Kool-Aid. Don't listen to our pods. Please listen to our pods, but don't listen to our pods. But please listen to our pods. This guy started. It's like, listen, bugger off.
Don't take my guy. Yeah.
Don't take my guy. And this happened last year as well. Almost to the week. I was in Canberra doing a mock draft. Literally, I was in a mock draft in Parliament House last year. Like walking around Australia's Parliament House. I had to put it in the group chat. I was just like drafting on the side, going dink. Oh, I just saw a Shams alert. What's happened with Shams? The Sham. Breaking news. Oh, it's only about I want to say it's only about the WNBA MVP, but it's not NBA related news for a second. I was like, oh, what's happened in the NBA really quickly as we're doing this? There's a Sham supernova going on for Shams. But this is a guy who I liked last year, coming across from New York Knicks into the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this is a guy who found his way into our waiver wires very, very quickly. He did not settle and mesh into that environment very well. And of all of our guys, DMAC, what do you notice there about his ADP across the board?
Yep, all very similar, which I guess is testament to the fact that he's quite effective in points, or equally effective in points as he is in categories. My point this season, he played 25.9 minutes per game last season. Mike Conley is a year older, or several months older from the end of last season. Are they going to deprioritize Conley and prioritize DiVincenzo?
And the answer is yes, to a matter of extent. He does have point guard eligibility as well. So this is what I really like about this guy. He is multi-flexible across platforms as a point guard, shooting guard. In some, he's even listed as a small forward, which I find very curious about what kind of lineup he's working in this one. And he finished last year as he has point guard, shooting guard, and small forward eligibility. So check on drafting, check on your platform, and check if your commissioner has made any changes, because this is a nice little hack. We can get dual eligibility, not just for guards, but for also across the guard and forward eligibility spots for Donte DiVincenzo. I like that. I'm into that as the journey. And he finished the season as the 121st best player last year. And so people look at his rankings from last year and think like, oh yeah, 120, that's about fair. his last 3 months of the seasons when he really started to shine and come on. In fact, he was the 66th best player in the last 3 months. And so that's the truth that I hold to. I hold that this guy is acclimated. He's fitted into the system. He was a top 75 player. The changes, if anything, benefit him. He gets more run. And seeing him there, this is almost for me just hugely out. I think he can be better than the 90th. Again, same as Pods. He's in the Goldilocks zone. You take him.
And don't forget, 2 seasons ago, end of not last season, the year before, he helped me win a few leagues, and he was a must hold guy for the Knicks, and he was outstanding down the stretch. So 100%. I've got a bit of sentiment towards him. But we've got 4 guys to go. Jrue Holiday, another one of your guys, now in Portland. Yep. Even if he comes off the bench and you think he possibly starts, or coming off the bench, he'll still have a significant.
Yeah, I think this guy is just going underdrafted and not drafted again. Another one. These are my Goldilocks guys. These are my guys who I just see as that perfect zone at the end of the day, that they could be anywhere from 90 to 110. This is like my Goldilocks sector. And so for him we're seeing him undrafted in a couple of drafts we've been in as well. People just haven't drafted him. So if we're sleeping on a guy who could return top 100 value, around 100-ish, because that's a must roster spot that we should have, that's not being drafted, we should pay attention to that. We should perk up and just keep on our eyes on what happens with him. Because at 130 or 130, it's just, I'm okay taking him there. Like, I'm just going to take it. But the fact is that that's the average, which means there's some people who are taking him at 120, but some who are taking him at like 140, which means almost not drafted. And that's where he's coming out at. So if you're in the league, or if you're in the spot where you're in the last, people, but I want to take there's also, D-Mac, do you find this fantasy talk of like, I have to take a flyer in my last round?
Yeah, I think people look for that upside, but sometimes it's just so far off the mark. Like we spoke about Mike Conley, Donte DiVincenzo. I've seen some people take a flyer on Rob Dillingham, and as much as I like his game, I just can't see it in a standard size league this season. So I get taking an upside pick with your last pick, but also there's some value to be had. There's guys that are being undrafted that are going to be plug and play, and they're going to get you value, particularly earlier in the season.
And that's like my next guy right here. Oh my gosh, this guy is not being drafted. Fantasy folk, get on game. I'm calling you on game for DeAndre Hunter. I don't know what we saw from him in Atlanta that didn't sell us on him. I don't know what we've said about him before that said we can't like him because he hasn't been good. Let's be honest, the guy had stretches last year where he did really return for you. And he finished as a rosterable player. He's going to get you threes. He's going to get you rebounds. He's going to get you points late. With Max Strus not in this team to start the year, he is going to get additional burn. I see this guy as a must draft player. I'm going to just say must draft. You need to draft him because if there is even a flyer that he brings even half of this back for you at the end of the day, he is like, again, a Goldilocks player. He is right there between 90 and 110 at the end of the day. These couple of rounds of value that you end up taking, people aren't taking him at all, D-Mac. They're not taking him at all.
Yeah, you got to grab him. And it's the source of points as well. We find it difficult to get those points at the end of drafts. You spoke about Kyle Kuzma. I'm not touching Kyle Kuzma with a 10-foot pole, but I would much rather have DeAndre Hunter if I needed those points.
And the rebounds and the good percentages is what he does. Like we saw stretches last year where this guy was a top 50 player, which is crazy to think. But if you're working off Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Donovan Mitchell, and then when he returns Darius Garland, this guy just has to shut up and stand in the corner. Like, let's be honest. He just has to shut up and stand in the corner. Like Kyle Kuzma had to do when he was a Laker. Kyle, shut the... Just get some rebounds, Kyle, and just in the corner, Kyle.
Grab Hunter. Another guy, a late round guy. So we're going to have another episode. We're going to talk about some of our late round flyers. This guy's going to be prominent, but Cam Whitmore, Bilal Coulibaly's injured to start the season. That's a bump or a bit of a boost for Cam Whitmore coming across from the Houston Rockets. It's exciting. Again, it's more of a flyer pick, but I think he returns on this ADP.
So this is exactly where I am at the end of the day. So this is the guy for me that I see as my flyer pick late just because of what he's shown us in the past. And we know that Cam Whitmore, the points, the rebounds, what is he going to do with Chris Middleton? Well, I mean, Chris Middleton's even almost slept on, but we just don't know what we're going to expect from Chris Middleton anymore. I think the Washington Wizards will have some fantasy relevance and value. And I think the big attention for these guys this year really is falling to Alex Sarr, deservedly so. But Cam Whitmore, again, is the last of my Goldilocks guys. If a guy can get you 15 points a game, 5 rebounds, a couple of assists, and a steal, his percentages, let's say plus 450. He's a reasonable free throw shooter, plus 750. I see him being a guy who could finish the season for me right around that 100 to 110 zone, or beat that possibly if he has a quote-unquote breakout year where he surpasses our expectations. But at 140, even on Fantrax for the hoop heads, his best, funnily enough, is on the points leagues on ESPN for 136. But the hoop heads at 140, again, mean he is going undrafted. And he should be drafted, even if a last round flyer for you, because that means if a player goes undrafted, for me, DMAC, I think that is ultimately my ultimate. You have slept on them because everybody did.
And that is our 20 sleeper picks. We spoke about Sam Hauser as well. He would have been our 20th, but we jumped the gun on him. Safe as houses. He was our 20th guy, but that's our top 20. Probably the last 6 guys are more like our flyer guys that will return value on ADP, but some pretty prominent names there. But Matty G, what else is going on, mate?
Mate, so much. We've got something very exciting cooking in the lab that's going to release in the next couple of weeks. You can find me right here on Believe in Fantasy. We have mock drafts getting you primed and ready. The latest one as well that both DMAC and I did was an all Aussie mock draft. Shout out to Adam King and a bunch of Aussie analysts who were in the expert 12 team there. Did a bit of a Steph Curry build. You drafted before me, which was a pain in the ass, which means I drafted before you on the turn, which was a lot of fun. Make sure you check out that episode right here on Believe in Fantasy, and you can find me at NBAGWiz. And like the Instagram's almost up to like 200 things. I'm building it, and I'm making some good art, and it'll be really cool. Like and follow that one. And like
do yourself a favor, guys.
Believe.
Matty G's doing some fantastic work on Instagram. I need to get my game up. I think you're putting a lot of us to shame on Instagram. So great work there. Make sure you come follow me at NBA Fantasy Bible over on X and also on YouTube. Make sure you go and check out all of the mock drafts and the rankings playlist on Believe in Fantasy channel on YouTube. Robin and the team are doing amazing stuff over there. And thanks for your support, Robin. Thank you, Matty. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Be well.